we shall meet on that beautiful shore. To our bountiful Father above, we will offer a tribute of praise for a glorious gift of his love, and the blessings that hallow our days. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore.
We will continue with number 193 in the Advent Youth Sing, Way Beyond the Blue. I've got a home in glory land that outshines the sun.
I've got a home in glory land. By the waters, Lord, I shall not be moved. On his word I'm feeding, I shall not be moved. He's the one that's leading, I shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the waters, Lord, I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the waters, Lord, I shall not be moved.
Thank you, Anna and Avery, for song service. The UE campus from 1980, and she was promoted to professor. She is in the area of general clinical pediatrics, infectious diseases, clinical care and treatment, special interest in HIV, advocacy, And her other very special interest is in childhood overweight and obesity, and she has had much impact in that area lately. So without further ado, I am going to welcome Professor Anne St. John, and I want you to join me in welcoming her as we listen to what she has to say. Thank you very much. Yeah, the sun. We're trying to get you out of the sun. Trying to get you out of the sun.
Let me see something. Good. Oops. It's a little bit more. The young lady. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that warm welcome to my colleague, Dr. Dupuy. Thank you for inviting me to come. It's a privilege to come this afternoon here to address the group. And in healthcare, never an opportunity to be missed, to share some knowledge and entertain field questions and clarifications, because we all trend to live longer, have a better quality of life, and it all starts in the youth. My topic this afternoon is going to be the healthy youth, a holistic and comprehensive approach to good health for the youth. Next slide. For those who are not familiar with the Childhood Obesity Prevention Coalition and the Heart and Stroke Foundation, I'm sure you've heard about Heart and Stroke Foundation, been in existence for many decades now. However, out of the Heart and Stroke Foundation has come, in the last 5 years, the formation of the Barbados Childhood Obesity Prevention Coalition. And this consists of a number of organizations and civil society, as well as individuals. And for those who can see the slides, I'll read for you. Organizations such as BARP, BARJAM, the Healthy Caribbean Coalition, the Diabetes Foundation, the Barbados Breastfeeding and Child Nutrition Organization, Kiwanis, Endometriosis Society, Barbados Nursing Association, Medical Association, Physical Therapy Association, Family Planning, and the list goes on and on. Barbados Christian Council is also signatory to this organization, and as well as other individuals. And we're all lobbying together with a strong advocacy effort to try to stem the epidemic of childhood obesity and non-communicable diseases across the island. Next slide. What are the NCDs? You may hear this pretty often, and NCD stands for non-communicable diseases. As we ask children when we go to the schools, we've covered 74 schools in the last year, inclusive of primary, of which there are 69, and 22 secondary schools. We haven't covered all, but it's not always possible. And I'll explain a little later how we go to the schools and what we share information. But the NCDs are killing us early. They're affecting us earlier and earlier. In former years, say 5 decades ago, you would only hear about diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, and heart disease in adults, older people. It was like your mother and your grandmother. However, nowadays, in the last 2-3 decades, we're seeing elevated blood pressure, obesity, and overweight in small children. And when I say small children, it's affecting children from as young as 5 and upwards. Elevated blood pressure and obesity. So we can see our statistics reveal that the NCDs are now responsible for 8 out of 10 deaths in Barbados. And this is impacting tremendously on our national budget. It's eating up. Between education and health is just consuming the majority of our national resources. 31%, 1 in 3 children in Barbados is considered obese or overweight. And this is not singularly to us. There are some areas in the world where 1 in 2, some island north of us, 1 in 2 children are obese or overweight. 73% of children drink 1 or more sodas per day. And I say that after the first sentence because there is a strong correlation between the consumption of high sugar in your diet and obese, overweight, and NCDs. The NCDs account for 60% of the country's health budget in Barbados, and the direct and indirect economic costs of NCDs exceeds $375 million annually. And if we could only have a rein on this, we would be able to have that money, or half of it, to spend on other things which are required. Next slide. Why all the concern about NCDs? The NCDs have a potential long-term outcome. They're directly linked with a shortened lifespan. Prevention is far better than cure, as we all know. And they have a tremendous impact on economy and surpass the health budget. In particular, the high intake, high sugar intake, high salt intake, high fat, which is saturated fats, and the overall consumption of processed and ultra-processed foods have a direct impact. And this is evidence-based. This is not just anecdotal information, that consuming those in high amounts has an outcome and increase in NCDs. Next slide. Looking at some information which has come to the fore through investigation in Barbados and surveys. The student population survey by the Healthy Caribbean Coalition shows that 18.5% of students ate fast food 3 to 4 times a week. No cooking is going on in the house. Everybody is too busy, don't have the time, so we stop and buy food. And what are we buying? No problem with buying food, but what are we buying? Fast food. Fast food means it's made quickly, it's high in salt, it's deep fried oftentimes, and it's full of saturated fat. So that's one important finding. A second one, 3/4 of the students reported drinking 1 or more carbonated drinks a day, wide range of carbonated drinks. And 15% ate no vegetables or fruit in the past month. Now, this is really alarming to many, but it's a reality of the plate that we have. The plate, we're eating a brown and a white plate. Whatever we're eating is either brown or it's white, meaning potatoes, starches, and the meat. No vegetables are there or fruit consumed. Next slide. Looking briefly some of the complications of obesity and overweight, if you are not familiar. 5 particular conditions: cardiovascular, which is your heart; chronic respiratory conditions affect your lungs; cancers, increased prevalence of cancer. And you know, breast cancer, prostate cancer are leading ones for us in men and women. Used to be cervical, but we have a hand on that for the time being. Diabetes, mental and neurological conditions, including dementia and mental health illness. The risk factors are clearly shown by scientific evidence: unhealthy diet, tobacco use. Well, thankfully in Barbados, we can boast to be amongst the lowest prevalence in the world of smoking cigarettes. I did mention smoking. I said smoking is tobacco. We are very low. We have less than 10% prevalence, of which we can be proud. Harmful use of alcohol, physical inactivity, which is increasing exponentially, and air pollution. We're not so bad with air pollution, but we're having an increased experience with that. So once we have these diseases we are familiar with and the risk factors, look at the body, how it affects the body. Dementia. Everyone knows someone these days who has dementia, and it seems to be increasing in the community, especially in the elderly. Stroke. Everybody knows somebody who had a stroke. Depression, heart disease, diabetes, elevated blood pressure, asthma, obstructive sleep apnea is OSA. Kidney disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. What happens is when you consume a lot of sugar, the sugar is converted to fat in the liver and it damages the liver cells, and then you end up with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. If you're a high consumer of alcohol, you can develop a condition called cirrhosis, and you can also develop alcoholic fatty liver disease. Other conditions, cancer of the colon, which is very prevalent in Barbados, men and women, breast cancer, endometrial cancer, kidney cancer. Infertility is quite prevalent in our population, but a lot of residents are not aware of this, but we have a significant prevalence of infertility. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, which you're hearing more and more about, losses of pregnancy, of which you might not be aware, and arthritis and gout. You will probably know somebody who has arthritis, and gout is not that frequent in our society at the moment. Looking at some of the considerations, the built environment, what used to happen before and what used to happen, what's happening after, presently. It is obvious, you remember, those of you who are over the age of 50, running about playing in the yard of the school, marbles, jacks, rounders, all kinds of sport in the schoolyard. That was on the left of the slide. In the playground, you have the swings. Children would run about and play in their break time. They would eat apples and they would be eating fruit. However, with the built environment, we're restricted. Houses are getting smaller. In fact, you can't even find a house to buy or build apartments. You're restricted to a small room. Some people, they say there are 12 people. When the government did a survey during the COVID time, they found 12 people living in a 2-bedroom house. Now that is very, very difficult space-wise and activity-wise. The slide on the right shows a student, male. He's sitting all day on his tablet. We only recommend 2 hours a day of screen time. That is TV, cell phone, and also your tablet. And look, he's sitting there. Sometimes students sit 4 and 5, 6 hours, especially during the COVID pandemic. They were having school online, then they were online again. And look at the plate of this little boy, small hand. The hamburger, or whatever meat is in it, is several times larger than his hand. And the potato chips. And some of these small students will eat the whole of that, either because they have a big appetite and pleasing to the family, or the parent makes them eat what they put on the plate. So this is what we are at now. We're moved from running around and more space to the built environment, restricting activity, and our dietary changes are impacting. This is a slide which is very important, and if you don't remember any more, I'd like you to remember all the slides, but this is very important. Here you can't see the details. The different colors represent different food groups, ranging from protein, sugar, fruit juice, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. But the brick red color reflects sugar intake. The slide would be on your right. The brick red color reflects the global consumption of sugar across the world. And you notice that the other colors compared to 2 slides are not very different. The one on your right shows Barbados' consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages and sugar. It is 3 times the amount of the global consumption of sugar. we are consuming 3 times the amount of sugar per person than the global average. And that is one of the root causes of our NCD's epidemic right now. The question is, do you know how much sugar is in your drink? A lot of people don't know how much sugar is in their drink. They like it sweet. I know sugar is one of our prime earners of foreign exchange. That's fine. Alcohol is too, but everybody's not consuming alcohol to the highest and staggering around on the road because we make alcohol. It doesn't mean we have to consume it that much. The World Health Organization recommends for children no more than 6 teaspoons of sugar per day, which is 25 grams. Every teaspoon contains 4 grams of sugar. So when we go to the schools, we tell them no more than 6 teaspoons of sugar. Now, looking at the slide there, you will see familiar names. Coca-Cola contains 40 grams of sugar in that can. That means 10 teaspoons of sugar equivalent. And people polish that off in no time. In fact, they have 2 or 3 in a day because they like to drink it. Tea contains, this is iced tea, which is sugar-sweetened iced tea. There's also iced tea sugarless. Then there's Red Bull. Then there are the fruit juices, which are actually flavored fruit drinks. They are not fruit juices, pure fruit juice. There's a big difference, and the ones that the children are carrying to school are often fruit drinks. So they contain about 5 teaspoons to 6 of sugar, and parents do not know. They're not aware of this. And good old water, nothing wrong with water. Water is the healthiest liquid to consume. You can consume that without having any issues. Doesn't matter how much you consume versus the sugar-sweetened drinks. So remember, equivalent of 6 teaspoons per day. Next slide. This is a realistic fact to face here. Juices often contain as much sugar and many calories as other sugar-sweetened drinks. They say juice on them, but they're actually drink. You would see one that's familiar. It says the passion fruit juice is big letters and the drink is small. So you need to turn around your box or your bottle to see how much sugar is in the drink. And if it's more than 5, it's not really recommended. In fact, we don't recommend any more than 10 grams of sugar in a drink. So that's very important to know. If you're looking at another sports drink, very popular, 35 grams or 8.7 teaspoons of sugar in that one. And you also have to look to see if it's 2 servings or 1. People will consume this bottle of drink and say, I had a drink, but actually it's 2 servings. So it can be 500 milliliters instead of 240, which is 1 glass. And also the other ones, 9 teaspoons of sugar, and people are not aware of this. So if we have little students at school, when we visit, we say, how many of you drink 1 sugar drink a day? They put up their hand. And then we go up 2 and 3. And some of these students are consuming 3 of these sodas a day. So if they're consuming 3 sodas a day, and you multiply that, 27 teaspoons of sugar in a day, they have consumed as much sugar as they're permitted for a week. And they're doing it every day. Next slide. I'm now going to move on, having given you some background to what is causing the non-communicable diseases. Move on to look at how can we make some interventions. With the prevalence being so alarming, in fact, it is an epidemic of the NCDs, particularly overweight and obesity in our students. It was found that the best approach was a multi-pronged one, and looking to optimize nutrition, a school's nutrition policy, looking at healthier lifestyles for our children and the entire family. Next slide. Our national school nutrition policy was devised back in 2022.
And it was put together with a number of organizations given input, not only locally, but regionally and internationally, based on the World Health Organization's recommendations. Because this has been done in other countries a number of years ago. Countries such as Chile, Mexico, Argentina sought to start a schools nutrition policy. So we are not far behind, hopefully, but implementation, as you know, on our island, we have a serious challenge with implementation deficits. We're saying we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but implementation, monitoring, and evaluation is very important, and we are weak in that area. The school's nutrition policy is based on a whole school approach to improve nutrition and well-being of students, aiming to reduce the prevalence of obesity, overweight, and non-communicable diseases. Provides a framework for nutritional strategies to ensure students receive nutrition education messages, and it was developed for public and private institutions. This was officially launched by the Ministry of then Technology and Vocational Training in February 2023, and it was implemented at the start of term 3 in 2023. Next slide. The policy was launched with the Minister of Education, which was then the Honorable Kay McConney, and it was put into place. Unfortunately, it started in term 3 when everybody's focused on exams. However, the important thing is it was launched, and the declaration was it was mandatory for all beverages in schools to be unsweetened with absolutely no sugar or artificial sweeteners. People often ask the question, well, how about taking a diet Sprite or a diet Coke or something that's diet, which has artificial sweetener in it? This does not serve a purpose. If you're diabetic, it is helpful because you want to cut the sugar. But the point is, you're trying to modify the palate of the child from a young age. If you start to feed them sugar and salt from the age of 1 and 2, I always say to the parents, do not taste the baby food. Do not modify it to suit your taste. The baby will consume what you give them. If it has no sugar, the baby does not know it has no sugar and no salt. So you're cultivating this taste. And once you cultivate a taste for high sugar, it's like addictive. People want more and more. It's been found that when you drink a soda that has in 16 teaspoons of sugar, you're so thirsty that you want another and another and another. So that's one of the rationales for saying cut the sugar in the diet. Next slide. The school's nutrition policy can be found on the Ministry of, Ministry of Education at Transformation's website. Anyone can log in on it and find it. It actually is 60 pages, the comprehensive document, because not only does it address nutrition, it addresses physical activity, exercise, child's rights, and so forth, pertaining to a healthy student and nutrition. There is a modified version which is of 12 points, and when we visit schools and speak to PTAs, we usually leave a copy of this. That is also available, so I encourage you, when you have an opportunity, to visit the website and look at the nutrition policy. It should also have been circulated to parents through their PTAs, and it's also circulated to teachers through the principals. So everybody in Barbados who can read and write should be able to have access to the policy to see what it contains. Next slide. Contains. Next slide. Does this translate into practice for students, teachers, and parents? What does this translate into practice for students? Next slide. We're looking at better options for snacks and drinks, essentially. Here's our student now about, let me see. The 69 primary schools, they would receive or have an option for school meals. These are prepared by the school meals service, and we have been meeting with the National Nutrition Center and the school meals service to try to get an improved menu for the students, because this is essential. One of the main meals, if not the main meal that the student receives between the age of 4 and 11 is the school meal on days. When they go home, oftentimes parents, they have depended on that school meal and they just have a snack in the evening. Looking at better options for snacks and drinks. From the third term in 2023, beverages sold to students would be permitted on the premises of the school, according to the directive of the ministry's nutrition policy. Water, coconut water, 100% fruit juice, vegetable juices, low-fat milk, plant-based milk, which would be soy or almond, no drinks with added sugars or artificial sweeteners. Water Wednesday, which used to be permitted and promoted in the years gone by, maybe in the last 10 years, would change, and now there would be 3 days of definitely water, but the students have their bottles, and they have water every day. We encourage them to have water every day. Students will be encouraged to drink water throughout the day, including class, so they're permitted to have their water bottle on the desk and have water if they're thirsty. It's very hot these days. Fruit Fridays, which was another promo of the ministry, would change to 3 days a week. So this would include apple, grapes, anything which they bring to school as a snack to encourage them to have more fiber in their diet. Lack of fiber is associated with constipation, and that is a high prevalence in our population. The low fiber diet and not eating fiber, which comes from fruit and vegetables. Vegetables will be served with all meals. It may or may not surprise you. Some canteens were charging extra for vegetables, so they would only serve the chicken and the macaroni, and you had to pay extra for vegetables. That is not being permitted. Fried chicken and chips 3 days a week instead of 5. In fact, moving to air fryers or baking of the meals, the meat, instead of having it deep fried, working towards 2 days a week. Healthy dishes served at least 2 days a week and working on. We moved forwards from this because this was about a year and a half ago. And students encouraged in fun physical activity. That is an issue. Everybody is not going to be representing Barbados at the Olympics or the Carifta Games. In fact, very few to none, as we are very familiar. However, physical activity which is appropriate for the child, jacks, marbles, road tennis, things that they would play and not be embarrassed, especially the ones who are overweight and obese and cannot run to the tape as quickly as the others. Next slide. Looking at some desirable changes in the menus at home and at school to reduce processed meats. As a pediatrician, I often take a dietary history. Every student that comes in, I inquire, what did they have for breakfast today? Lunch, do they get school lunch, or they buy their meals? It is not surprising, or maybe surprising to you. Salami, sausages, and corned beef are very frequently, and nuggets, frequent. They come in a package. You pull them out the fridge, you put them in the microwave, you put them on the plate, the child eats them, they've gone to school. These are amongst the most unhealthy things to consume because the salami is high in sodium, high in fat. The sausages as well. I asked them, do you know what sausages are made of? These are meat, not the vegetarian ones. The sausages, if you go into a factory that makes it, the meat that they cannot do anything with, they color it, they grind it up, and they put it in that little envelope, and it's beautiful pink sausage, very appetizing looking, but it has not got any, it has a lot of fat in it. It really is not positive for nutrition. And corned beef, as you know, we do have 25% reduced corned beef of salt. I see it on the package, on the shelves of the supermarket. Looking to reduce the high salt, sodium, the soups made with the cubes and the potato chips. Now, I'm not saying don't give potato chips, but there's a range of potato chips on the shelf. Some are very low. Anything that has less than 10 grams of salt, less than 200 grams of salt, Mr. Sugar, that's 10 grams, is reasonable. Then there are plantain chips, which have no added sugar. There are some with added sugar, there are some with added salt. The consumer has to look at the package and see what it is. I know, especially the ladies who do the shopping, don't have time to be looking at food labels, especially when the labels are so fine you need a magnifying glass these days, or they're in Spanish or Chinese or some other language. But potato chips, no problem with potato chips. Just select the low salt ones, and the plantain chips, no added sugar. Occasionally, that's fine for snack. Deep frying of your food, baking, air fry, or broil. So reduce deep frying. And this is what you find at the fast food outlets. They're deep frying the meat. Using additional and different proteins. And I know Adventists are very much into vegetarian meals. Protein does not have to come from meat. It can come from lentils, soy, and tofu. So that's quite healthy, vegetarian meals. Prepare the vegetables in a tasty and attractive way. Little children especially do not want carrots and beans that are boiled in water and put on their plate. Tasteless. I agree with that. You have to find a way to put a little something additional for them to be attractive. And incorporating locally grown food types. I don't have to repeat this like Minister Ware. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, or yams. We also have eddos. We have pumpkin. Pumpkin is low. I don't see pumpkin more than $2.50 a pound wherever you go. It's still $2.50 a pound. And pumpkin is a vegetable. Pumpkin is low in sugar, and pumpkin has good carotene in it. It is also not likely to increase your weight. Pumpkin and the squash and the Christophine family, those are the ones which are not likely to increase your weight. So that's a vegetable. Next slide. Moving on to my portion size. That plate is yellow, believe it or not, but it's green up there. It's green? It's yellow. Okay. You can still get the message. This is the plate planner. Divide your plate. Your plate is either 7 inches or 9 inches. You know, it has an inner rim is 7 inches and the outer rim is 9. Divide it into 3. There are quarters. 2 quarters for the vegetables and a wide range of vegetables at the top. On the right-hand side is the starch, which I have explained the different starches. And on the left side is the meat or the lentils, whichever you have. And if you stick to that portion, you should see the plate looking like this. The white portion should not be sitting on top of the brown portion. It means you're having too much. The vegetables, we advise do not offer the child more. More is not good for the child. More is making the granny happy and the mother happy. More food, but it is not healthy for the child. When you serve the plate, that's enough. Let them drink their water. Don't ask them if they want more, because if they want more, they will say they want a little more. And then more vegetables is fine, and that's how it works. But the psychology that everything must be eaten on the plate. If little Johnny does not eat what's on his plate, it means he either had something to eat 2 hours ago, like a donut or a jam puff or turnover, or his poor little stomach, which is the size of his hand, can't accommodate what you put on the plate. So save some money, put less on his plate. Otherwise, you're going to have to discard the food, which is a shame, really. So this is an important principle about feeding children. Next slide. What are some of the alternative snacks? The students are hungry after they come out of school on days, starving to the point. So give them something. They cannot wait until dinner time. And the average dinner time is about 5, I think. So things like mangoes, sugar apples, pawpaw, apples, 65 cents for an apple. I mean, apple, you can't get anything cheaper than that. Mixed fruit cup, lightly salted popcorn chips, raisins and nuts, potato chips lightly salted, and plantain chips, no added sugar. These are the snacks that are recommended instead of donuts, jam puffs, turnovers, things like lead pipes, which you often find the little child is hungry after they come out of school. They want something. Something like this alternative snack is not going to harm them, and it won't fill up their stomach, so that when they get home, they will be able to eat. Because if he eats a donut at 3 o'clock, 3:30, when your dinner is ready at 5:30, his stomach is full, and he cannot eat within reason those snacks. So those are the alternative drinks I have mentioned, and those are the alternative snacks. Next slide. Here are some other local drinks. Water, nothing wrong with water. Non-sugar flavored water. Parent says he doesn't like water. Well, put a cucumber piece in it, or put a little piece of apple, or put a little piece of strawberry if you buy those. It gives a little flavor. Coconut water, our greatest gift, coconut water. You cannot beat coconut water. Low sugar and water. Sparkling soda water, if they like it. 100% fruit juice. Vegetable juice we don't tend to drink a lot. You can make smoothies. Put in a banana, some mango, and some fruit or nut. Grind it up, and they would like it. Unsweetened milk and reduced fat milk. Very important. Next slide. Okay, I went over that one already. Next, besides nutrition, physical activity extremely important for our students. Overweight and obesity cannot be eliminated by exercise alone. This is an important message, because adults, you will hear to say, I'm going to the gym, but I'm not losing weight. You cannot exercise away the 100 pounds overweight that you might be. It is a reality. The important thing is to reduce the intake, and the exercise is therefore cardio fitness. Your heart is kept fit, but it is not going to result in your losing weight. We recommend at least an hour a day of moderate activity, equivalent to 6,000 steps for adults. Recommended to have a Fitbit. Most people have a cell phone. How many folks in here have a cell phone? And how many have the steps set on the cell phone? Or you know you can download a free health program and have yes, you're younger, so you'll be up on these things. Download the program, and it tells you every day. And those who have an iPhone, it's free. You don't have to download it. So it's important to make as many steps as you can in a day. You might not make the 6,000, but you might make 3. And then you aim to do your walking. This is most important. And that's why we have break and after school play and extracurricular activities. Limit screen time, I covered that already. 2 hours on the cell phone, tablet. In fact, some cell phones tell you how much time you've been on the phone, which is very important, because you can get carried away. That's also addictive. Activities recommended, extracurricular activities for the primary school students and the secondary schools. I am often taken aback. I shouldn't be, because I've been in pediatrics for years, but it's a worsening situation when I ask the students in secondary school, they just sat common entrance, they're in first or second form, what extracurricular activities are you involved in? Do you do swimming, basketball, netball, dancing, road tennis? No, they belong to the nothing club, meaning they don't do anything. They sit on their bench, wait for the parent to come. They're on the phone. They're in the bus going home. They're on the phone. When they get home and do the homework after that, they're on the phone. and they're just living a very unhealthy life. So try to enroll your child in something 3 times a week, different sports. It's very, very important. And sport is positive for mental development and discipline as well. Next slide. Here are some of the activities that we have been doing in the Barbados Childhood Obesity Coalition as part of Heart and Stroke Foundation. We have a youth advocates group which comprises of about 90 students. Any youth who are interested can join, and the aim is for lobbying and advocacy against childhood obesity, overweight, and NCDs. We have our shirts which say, "We deserve better, support the children, better health for children." They are usually red and white and black. That's the Heart and Stroke Foundation's colors. This was back in 2023 when the Youth Advocates team went to the square, Golden Square Memorial Park, to have a silent presentation about how they felt leading up to National Youth Day. High in sodium, high in sugar, high in fat, warning labels now. We're advocating food warning labels, known as FOPL, front of package warning labels. And this has been a movement through the Caribbean. In some countries outside of the Caribbean, when you go to, say, Chile, Argentina, you pick up a package in the supermarket, you will see an octagonal label on it, which is shown to be the most persuasive shape. Black and white octagonal label, high in. So it says high in sugar, high in salt, high in fat on it. That means that when you see it as a consumer, you're not going to buy it unless you have a reason to want something high in sugar, high in salt. So we're been pushing for this, but unfortunately, we have not succeeded because it is a Caribbean effort. It has to be something agreed upon with a 2/3 majority of CARICOM states. And the ministers have been meeting in different territories. In 2009, we signed the Port of Spain Declaration at Chagaramas about NCDs and trying to reduce them. This was a meeting of the ministers of governments through the Caribbean. But the vote has come. In the last few years, we still haven't reached where we can have a 2/3 majority for this to be implemented throughout the Caribbean. We're pushing for front of package warning labels. On the other side, the governments, some of them are saying it will cost more to the manufacturers to put labels on. So that's going to drive up the price of the food. In some countries where they're already, they have decided to legislate it. So Argentina, Chile, Mexico, you cannot sell anything to the public unless it has a label on it. So we're hoping, because we are having food coming in, if you look at the supermarket, you will see packages that have drink and food. These labels are there. Next slide. What is the Heart and Stroke Foundation and the Barbados Childhood Obesity Coalition doing for 2025? 3/4 of the year has passed. We have been focusing on advocacy. We have been pushing for policies and legislation, because we've found that if you push for policies and you have these policies in place, there's no consequence. You have to legislate the policies. Notice that we did have a 10% tax on sugar-sweetened beverages in 2017, and then it was increased to 20%. There was a lot of noise and anecdotal reports from people, oh, it's not causing any change. However, the manufacturers revealed that the sales of sugar-sweetened beverages decreased within the year afterwards by their research. We have to have a follow-up on that. And the sales of water increased. So the message went out, and we found the students were consuming more water. We've been having mass media campaigns. The most recent one of 3 months ago was we are lobbying for a ban on marketing and sale of unhealthy food and drink in and around our schools. It's good to have a nutrition policy within the school by the Ministry of Education. However, when the students leave school or we have vendors coming into the schools, then and if they're selling the unhealthy food and drink, you're losing ground. So we want to have a ban within the schools of marketing sales of unhealthy food and drink. We also have the industry coming into the schools offering book covers and offering reading material. And what do? They bring in the truck with a big ad for unhealthy whatever, and they're sharing out lollies to the students. Now, they didn't tell the Ministry of Education when they offered that they're giving books and covers which have the brand name. They didn't say anything about the truck coming in with lollies and unhealthy ice cream, for example. So the ministry is very, very aware, and policies are sent out to schools. They have to have permission from the ministry. This is the principle for any company that is offering to treat the students. They bring donuts and they're bringing various things which really are not healthy for our students. And the little children don't know any better. They love the lollies and they love the donuts, so they will eat them as well. The second thing I would like to focus on, which has been in abeyance since 2021, a bill taken to Parliament, not yet proclaimed, the Vendors Bill. This bill states that vendors cannot be within a certain area of the schools to sell their products, which might be unhealthy. There is an organization of the Barven, and there are also these canteen concessionaires have recently formed an organization. This is the secondary school canteen, to get together to have a menu that is common, healthy, and share information, because nobody wants to stop vendors and canteen concessionaires making money, but we want them to follow the recommendations. So there's a list which any manufacturer who is making various products to consumers, they send it into the Ministry of Education and it's approved. Then they have a stamp of approval and they can say that they can sell those in the schools. So there's a list of food and drink, which is, this started about 2 years ago, which is available for the vendors and the canteen concessionaires. Moving on towards the end of my presentation, Barbados is a signatory to the 1989 Convention on the Rights of the Child. And if we're a signatory, we should not breach. We have signed, and in good conscience, we should deliver the goods. Included in the 54 rights for the child, one basic right is the right to health care and nutrition. So we are bound by our signatory to this. Next slide. The nation's children deserve to live healthy lifestyles and benefit from wise nutrition choices in an effort to reduce the prevalence of non-communicable diseases. The healthy child of today may be the Prime Minister of tomorrow, may be the President, may go to be the leader in a big organization. And we depend on our children growing healthy lifestyles so that their brains are well nourished and their bodies are well nourished. Because having these non-communicable diseases, they lose time in school. When they join the workforce, they have a lot of sick time as well. They just cannot function. So we need to start early in the first 10 years of life to try to nourish a healthy body and a healthy mind. Next slide. These are our youth advocates, and we have been visiting the schools Tuesdays and Thursdays, generally speaking, across the length and breadth of Barbados. We do a 45-minute presentation. We quiz them on their knowledge about conditions, sugar, how much sugar they should take. We show them the drinks, we show them water to show them how much sugar is in the drinks they're consuming. And at the end of time, we ask them, what are y'all going to drink from today? You know the answer, water. However, they run into issues when they go home because having had that education in school, they're facing the next generation, which is the parents who are consuming the sugar-sweetened beverages, and the grandparents. So the preaching about you need energy drinks. Children don't need any more energy. They are full of energy. And the teachers, in fact, can tell you that when the students come back in from break and they have been consuming these diet drinks and sugar, they cannot control them. It is difficult after lunch. They can tell who's been consuming the Coke, the Sprite, the Fanta, the Fruity, 16 teaspoons of sugar. So our youth advocates are very important in our education. Next slide. I would like to ask you to continue your tremendous support. If you haven't been given it up to this afternoon and my presentation, or you might not be aware, we all love our children. We want them to be healthy so that when they grow up, they can render support to us who are the aging population. And healthy nutrition, wise choices, better health, promoting physical activity, our school nutrition policy needs to be looked at and taken out all of the important things for us to have healthier youth and families. And I thank you very much for listening.
And we're going to do questions now.
Yeah, sure. Can say how many
Thank you
minutes?
very much, Professor St. John, for your wonderful presentation, excellent presentation. I'm sure we were all, fed, blessed, excited. So now's the time for questions. Somebody had a question. We will have a mic.
Yes, it is unfortunate to know that you are doing a presentation like this and the Pathfinders who are of this age are not here. But anyhow, one of the things that I want to find out from you, you spoke about the 2 hours that you basically encourage for children under a certain age on the computer or tablet. How old should a child be before the child can use a tablet or a computer? Because I've seen children that cannot even read what is on there, having phones in their hands almost the whole day. And as far as I was made to understand, that is extremely dangerous, not just based on what you said, but based on their overall health. So how old would you recommend?
Thank you for your question. What I said was no more than 2 hours of total screen time. If you're a baby, once you can focus, and newborn babies are short-sighted, but say by 6 months, they can look at things on a screen. They can look at something on a tablet because it's moving and it's pictures. It's the same as a TV screen. There's not a limit to an age that you can look at a tablet. It's no different rate to looking at people walking by. They're just looking at a smaller screen. But what we encourage is not to use the tablet as a babysitter. You may or may not be aware, you go out to a restaurant, especially in bigger countries, and the father is sitting there, the mother is sitting there, the children are there, and they put 2 tablets on the table, and the father is on the phone, the mother's on the phone. Nobody says anything to anyone because this is a babysitting. It keeps the child quiet. And we have been finding, especially during the COVID pandemic, that students' articulation and expressive speech has suffered tremendously. We have little children who reach 2.5 and 3, and they can't say phrases because nobody's been talking to them. They've been put in the playpen, they put the tablet there, and if the tablet is not talking and saying things to them, they're not picking up vocabulary. So we have been noticing a significant increase in expressive speech and also autism. Autism has been on the rise, is on the rise, being diagnosed now. So we are encouraging families to talk to their children. If you are the only one there in the house, give them the tablet that speaks to them, but don't say nothing to them. From the child who is 3 months onwards, vocalization is very important. 6 hours, as you mentioned, that is really, really out of consideration. You can't be too busy. Well, you might be, but should not be too busy to interact with the child. The child spends in school, they're in school from about 8 until 3 maybe. So they're not on the tablet then. They come home and you can spend an hour with them at least. So they wouldn't be on the tablet for more than 2 hours in the normal Monday to Friday. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you very much, Dr. St. John, for your informative presentation. I have a question. I want to point you back to the youth advocate category. I was wondering, what's the age group for the youth advocates, if there's and what's the criteria? And how would one get involved, the youth I'm speaking about? And then a second part to that would be, you mentioned the youth advocate visiting schools. Are private schools included, or is only the government schools? And is this at all levels of schools?
Okay, part 1, age 16 and over. You can enroll by going on to the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados website, and there are options there for applying to the Childhood Obesity Program. The program manager is Francine Charles. Or you can call, but you can go onto the website and send in a letter. The program is inclusive of the 69 primary schools and 22 secondary schools. We covered 74 schools in the last academic year, going twice a week. And I usually go with them. I'm the chairperson, co-chair of the Barbados Childhood Obesity Coalition, and I am the director for youth health at Heart and Stroke. So we go out to the schools. I mean, I've learned a lot of little schools way up in St. Lucie, all over the place. You hear the name, but you don't know where they are. Then you find them. It's really enlightening to interact with the students. We usually interact with the class 1 to 4. At their assembly time in the morning, we go from 9 until 10. So we're gone by 10 o'clock. So I'm sorry the Pathfinders are not here. I can come back sometime in the future for a particular audience for them. No problem. We would like to embrace them. Presently, most of our youth advocates are from the Cave Hill campus. They are the science students and also the Medical Student Association. So you would be welcome. They would be welcome.
Another question after what you said. Is a stipend given to the youth advocates?
No, it's a voluntary.
Okay.
Those who are employed, there are some who are officers in the youth advocate. There are about 3 who are officers, but it's a total voluntary program. I am not paid at all. It's my giving back.
My concern is not only what was mentioned in terms of the long hours that the children are on the iPads and the parents are not communicating with the children because they are not even communicating to one another, because I've actually witnessed a couple at a dinner and both of them were on the cell phone. I don't know what communication was taking place between 2 of them, but both of them were on the phone. My concern is that we have all these policies regarding sweet drinks and sugar reduction and things like that. What is government or whatever organization is involved doing to educate the parents in these particular areas? We have PTAs at the school. Is there somebody going in to lecture on these things?
Oh yes, definitely. Us, as a non-government civil society, we go we address the PTAs, the vendors, the canteen operators, and the message goes through. The nutrition policy was circulated through the Ministry of Educational Transformation. So we are satisfied that the conduit is there. We're satisfied the messages are going out. We're not able to assess how many people are actually reading the information and absorbing the education, but we have seen improvements and changes. In the last 4 or 5 years, this coalition has been operating, but I can say without fear of contradiction that there have been improvements. We've been on brass tacks many times, spent 2 hours. We've been on the health program, on VOB, on Sunday evenings. I've been on Morning Barbados, one-on-one. Lots and lots and lots of different people involved. We have a huge following of people who are involved in doing the education. So it's not for want of offering the education, but there are always people who haven't got the message, as you would know.
I'm just asking about the diet. If you're a person who has a balanced diet and if a child has a balanced diet and the parent or the child asks for an unhealthy snack every once in a while, like say 3 months, every 3 months, is that okay?
It depends on the age of the child. I always say to the parents, you will break the guideline because you go to parties, treat, they call it. As I said about this fast food company coming in with the truck and offering lollies when they're bringing books to give to read. Now, that is the guise that they're coming in under. But an unhealthy snack, you will find if you have a diet which is low in sugar and low in salt, when you eat something with high sugar, it doesn't taste good to you at all. You will find that is a personal thing I know. I think since must be 10 years, I stopped putting sugar in anything that I drink. I don't. And I got one day, I said, that's it. I don't have diabetes, I don't have hypertension, but if I'm going to try to persuade people that this is a healthy way to go, if you say so, then show the way. Do as I say, and I do. You cannot have one standard for the Persians and one for the Medes, because it doesn't help, really. So your unhealthy snack that somebody might want to have, there's no harm, but you'll find you really choose the right thing. You do.
Amen. Thank you very much, Professor. And just stay in position. We have Sister Rachel Bartlett to offer you a gift. The bag looks like real wine, but it's not real wine.
No donuts, nothing high in sugar or salt. But I want to thank you so very much for coming this evening and for enlightening us and giving us food for thought on how we can live healthier lives and how we can encourage our children to live healthier lives and implement these things in our households. As expensive as food is, it's good to know, though, that there are things out there that you can use to still encourage your children to be healthy. Thank you so, so very much.
Thank you as well. This is indeed a surprise.
Everybody, and we're bringing things down to an end. all the ones that were on, sorry. So there's a bottle in there of healthy wine. There's a card. There is a Good News Community Church fridge magnet. No, not fridge magnet. It's a key ring. There's a key ring. You didn't know we had key rings, right? We did. Remember, after Healing Moments, we had fridge magnets, key rings. You forgot. So it's a Good News Community Church key ring and a Friends of Health pin. At this time, I'm going to invite, well, Sister Janice just left. I'm going to invite Brother Yearwood, Mark, and Sister Bartlett to get their pins and to pin the others. So if you've attended all the sessions this week, and if you had signed up previously, we will call your name and you can come up and get your pin. So the pin says Friends of Health, and it has the Adventist Health Ministries logo, like this one up there. So there's one in your bag. It's the first to pin it off the blue and come to Okay, so the pins are in here. I'm going to call the names. Mark Sandiford. So you can clap for them too. Let me come up. I have a lot of names. I'm not sure if everybody's here. That's fine. Yeah, it's kind of the other way around. So, Robert King, Jeffrey Brown, Brenda Beckhorst, Sati Bell. Sati Bell, give her a hand. Sati Bell is one of our visitors from Gemswick. We had Elder Noel and Ori, they got theirs this morning. Kathy Ann Corbin. Faye Bostick, who I know is not here. Judith Skeet, Yvette Harry, I don't think these people are here, they were notified. Avonda Reed. Deborah Hunt? No. Sophie Brathwaite? Celine Bushell. David Bushell. Denise Collymore. Jamal Thomas. You're on with us every night this week. Rolene Thomas. Oh, you finished yourself? Ah. I can't, I have trembling hands. Juliet Moore. Marcia Webster. And Lisa Cupid. And the 5 elements, and they will get theirs at some other time. Anastasia Bartlett. And Avery. I keep forgetting Avery's last name. I hope there nobody.